I should probably just let you know before I carry on, this is a bit of a one-man show, so if I look to the side every now and then, it's because I'm just playing around with the video, and although we've got all this space here, I'll be showing you a few images. Hello and welcome to Shedcast, the new show from Garblag Games with Pete, otherwise known as Arcalofax on Twitter. We're going to be bringing to you every week a new show that will cover off areas on the role-playing, wargaming and board gaming world. And I'm hoping that this can be a bit of a platform. I can do more of these more frequently. I'm gonna start by aiming for one a week, and I'm going to go for 15 to 20 odd minutes. And hopefully cover something that's interesting. There'll be news, we'll talk about Kickstarters going on, we'll talk about expansions for role-playing games, and we'll delve into the world of board games and wargaming, which I'm really looking forward to. I've been role-playing now for 28 years. For a good portion of that time I've been games master, dungeon master, storyteller, keeper, whatever you want to call it. I think I've picked up a few tips and tricks that I wanted to share with people. I'll be talking to you about my ongoing role-playing games that I'm currently running. Hopefully some of you have seen our latest video, Pub Play, which is our D&D 5th edition Planescape game that we're currently running at the St Albans Role-Playing Club. It's a really great game. We've got some really good players. The role-playing is really deep, they really get into their characters. They're not just there for the hack and slash, but when there is hack and slash, they do that well as well. It's a slightly different game. It's a dual GM game. So myself and my friend Rich, we each run a party of players, and we have one overall mega plot that we're aiming towards. And we've had a few sessions along the way where we've gathered all the players together. I've got 5, he's got 5. So we've, as you can imagine, we've had a couple of interesting sessions where we've had 10 players all grouped together, trying to work together, fight together, not fight each other, hopefully, because we're really aiming for this to be a cooperative and collaborative game. No one's evil. We said that at the beginning. It's set in Planescape, and all of the characters have been thrust there from some other world. Don't know where they've gone. They have no idea about all the other planes of existence. They've come from one of the prime material worlds, and they are thrust into Sigil, which is the city at the heart of the planes, and they're really each there looking for some relic of power that they were questing for, and they've been drawn through a portal into this amazing world of all the elemental planes, the 9 layers of hell. You've got Limbo, you've Bitopia, logical world of Mechanus, all these different planes. It's really interesting. If you don't know about the Planescape setting for Dungeons and Dragons, I would suggest that you go and have a look, because it's very interesting, it's very varied, there's a little bit of something in there for everybody. And if you play the game so that you journey around the different realms, you could even go into all the different Kryn, Toril, for Forgotten Realms, then you can really have a broad, expansive campaign. It's something really that you should use for a large campaign that you really want to sort of get into. You can have a real varied backdrop for the players. You can really give them a lot of different places, a lot of different things, a lot of different challenges to deal with, and that's one of the reasons I really like Planescape. It's got this big city at the centre of it, which is kind of at the middle of the multiverse, Sigil, the City of Doors, which is a really interesting city. It's got all the architectural styles from all the worlds, and its own kind of throng and buzz, and a series of very ardent factions who are vying for the kind of philosophical and moral control of the city, and there's a very delicate balance that is going on and being upheld. And in our game, as you can see here on the side, we've been filming in the pub, which is a lot of fun. We have been exploring the fact that a particular faction There's a renegade element within it, and they are looking to do something dark and dangerous. Now, the really interesting thing about Planescape is it takes alignment and moral balance to a new level. Every plane is more closely aligned to a particular alignment, and as you change the thoughts and the feelings and the hearts and minds of the people who live in cities or planes, they can physically move from one plane to another just by that mere changing the way they view the world. And that's been something that's always drawn me to Planescape. I think it's a brilliant setting, and I'll talk about that more. I think it's safe to say none of my players knew anything about it. It's something that came out a while ago. Here we go, I think I've got an image here. Planescape, so this is the box set cover. It's back in the old TSR days, so it's before WotC, Wizards of the Coast, and it was an AD&D 2nd edition setting. Now I know there's been a few updates and a few additions, and there's a bit of homebrew stuff out there that's going on, but there's been no real kind of relaunch of Planescape since it was created, and I'm hoping that they are going to. That would be absolutely excellent. I think that would be an amazing thing. So obviously I'm gonna talk to you about the pub play games that we do, and I'm hopefully get some of the players on to the show. As you can see here, I've got space for another person. I want to bring on co-hosts to talk about different topics as and when it's required. On to the topic of today. This is what I wanted to talk to you about. Now, this is a big thing. Wizards of the Coast have launched DMsGuild, Dungeon Masters Guild, and they have released the Open Gaming License and the system reference document. Now, if you don't know what this is, basically they're opening up the book, they're opening up the rules and saying, right, if you want to come and make some additional material for us, then that's fine. It's an interesting move. It's opening things up for not only the regular person like myself or you, but other companies are kind of jumping on this and using the Open Gaming License to bring Dungeons & Dragons rules to other worlds, to other settings, which is very interesting. Now, there's a difference between the Dungeon Masters Guild and the Open Gaming License. So with Dungeon Masters Guild, as we can see on the screen, you really have to stick to more rules. You've got to work in the Forgotten Realms setting, and you can't just go and make any old thing up that you want. Although, to be fair, looking on the website, it's quite relaxed. There's some interesting classes being created, archetypes, equipment books, monster manuals. Generally, it seems to be that people are making small packages that expand one or two things, which is very interesting, because then you can kind of pick and choose what you want to add to your world. There's not a huge book that you've got to buy. Open Gaming License is allowing you to go and sell D&D with your own take on it, your own worlds, your own settings, on your own website, through your own medium, on Drive Through RPG, or however you want to do it. I would advise, though, always, if you're the DM of a game, don't let someone bring something to go and buy something off DMsGuild, a new archetype or a new race, without you having seen it and approved it for your game. Where this could go is what I'm finding quite interesting about this news, and the first major addition I can see is what's coming up with Cubicle 7. So Cubicle 7 produce the One Ring role-playing game. Cubicle 7 are now going to launch a One Ring for D&D, and this has just been recently announced. And although this sounds kind of like bringing the child home, you know, D&D grew up from all those guys who'd read Lord of the Rings, played tabletop wargaming, and had wanted to be that hero leading the troops, and then going one further into being that hero, going on adventures, finding the magic sword and doing all those things. The interesting thing for me here is that Lord of the Rings is a very different style to Dungeons and Dragons as it is now. I mean, I've recently started playing 5th edition D&D, and I think personally it's one of the best versions of Dungeons and Dragons that Wizards of the Coast or TSR have created. It's very clean, it's very streamlined. You play a character, you know what you're doing. Leveling's not difficult. The advantage disadvantage system is great. There are many great virtues of the new system. We can argue about armor class till the cows come home. The difference between Dungeons and Dragons, I think, and something like Lord of the Rings is magic. Now, in Dungeons and Dragons, you have wizards who can run around throwing fireballs, throwing magic missiles, and magic has a very different style, mainly because Dungeons and Dragons comes from that history, that basis of the wargame, from chainmail, from all that stuff. Lord of the Rings magic is very, very different. Lord of the Rings magic is in the places, in the items. There are wizards, you know, powerful beings like Galadriel and Elrond and all those kinds of things, but magic either seems to be very subtle and very small, or vast. You know, the power of the One Ring, and the elves using the 3 rings to hold back the shadow. What I'm very interested in is how they're going to bring that together, and how much work will have to be done on the 5th edition engine to make it suitable for Lord of the Rings. When it comes out, we can get a hold of it, try it out at the club, let you guys know how it is. Now, the one thing that kind of really interests me now, this game at the pub with the St Albans Roleplaying Club has really kind of reignited my passion for Planescape. Such a good setting that it really needs some attention. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to set myself a bit of a challenge over April. I know we haven't finished March yet, but there's a lot of stuff going on in the next couple of weeks. We got a couple of games at the club where we're going to have both groups joined together, and that's going to be pretty intense. And hopefully you'll enjoy that on the pub play next week and the week after. And obviously we've got the bank holiday weekend to get around. But what I want to do is set myself a challenge for April to create a new archetype for every class in the player's handbook that is specifically designed for the Planescape world, so that if I carry on and extend this campaign, if additional people want to join in, they could play someone from Sigil or one of the other planes. Now, I've got a few ideas, and I'm going to be developing those over the next few weeks in preparation for trying to sit down and write out some of these archetypes. I've got some ideas about rangers who track people across the planes, the wizard school of portation, the paladin oath of the multiverse, and some other ideas. The bard college of doors, and I'll keep you guys up to date on how that's going as I do these videos. Obviously talk about the St Albans Roleplaying Club quite a bit. We want to talk about other clubs. If people want to email me, feel free about what you're doing. Maybe we can come see you if you're local, and we can get some pictures and footage and put it up here and share it with everybody else. That would be really cool. We're going to move on and do things around character creation, how to build adventures, how to do encounters. So I think it's going to be really interesting. It's going to be fairly organic. We're going to see how it goes. As you can tell from this first episode, it won't all be based on Dungeons and Dragons, don't worry. I know this first episode has been fairly concentrated on that, but that's just because we're doing our current game at the pub, and I wanted to share a bit of the thinking around what's going on behind the pub play episodes that we're starting to put out there. Thank you everyone for looking at those, by the way. We've had nearly 100 views in less than 3 days, so I'm pretty pleased, and it's nice to see that people are looking at it, watching and enjoying it, and we hope that you can keep watching, keep enjoying. Please send us ideas, send us thoughts, comments. We're really up for making this something that's useful for the audience and for the community. Beginning of next week, we're recording on Monday, and I'll be editing and uploading Tuesday night / Wednesday morning. We'll see you at the pub. Hopefully a bit more of the pub play. Thanks very much for watching. I'm Pete, and this is Garblag Games signing off.